Hello, my loves. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to a special edition of the Astro Room here on YouTube. This is the yearly Astro forecast for the year of 2024. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell, so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my loves, I'm excited because this is kind of a big deal. Right. So I've got the weekly astro forecast. I have the monthly astro forecast. And thankfully, I have now the yearly astro forecast. And so tonight, I'm going to be giving you an overview of the important themes and the important astrological happenings that will be taking place in 2024. So keep in mind, this is meant to be a broad overview. Right? Because otherwise, I could be here for like half a day talking to you about everything going on in 2024. Thankfully, though, the way that I do my videos, you will end up getting all of the information of 2024 throughout 2024 on a weekly and a monthly basis. All right. But again, this is just meant to be an overview. And if you're looking for very specific information on 2024, specifically what it's going to mean for you, like what is 2024 going to look like for you, you are definitely going to want to sign up for my 2024 annual reading. It is an astrology report, a written report, plus an online consultation. All right. And it basically covers all of the important transits for you for 2024. All right. Spots are limited, so you definitely want to sign up as soon as possible. I will only be offering this up until mid-January. All right. So you want to get scheduled, get in, so that you can definitely figure out what 2024 looks like for you. The link to that will be in the description box below, and the product will be tagged in this video. All right. So I got you covered on all bases. So before we get into all the details, of course, housekeeping and announcements. So if you are joining me here on the live this evening, thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate you. Feel free to say hello on your way in the chat, and don't forget to hit that like button as well. And if you are catching this on the replay, I appreciate you just as much. I sincerely hope that you get at least one piece of information that you can use and that's valuable to you going into 2024. And if you find that you do, definitely hit that like button. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe and notification bell. All right. So in terms of announcements, so this is just the beginning. This video, or this live, I should say, is the overview of 2024. I am going to be breaking down 2024 into each individual rising sign, and those videos are going to be dropping next week. So definitely hit that notification bell so that you will be notified when your particular video comes out. And keep in mind, they're going to be done by rising sign. So you'll need to know what your rising sign is. But I will explain all of that in those videos. But again, those are going to be dropping next week. So you're definitely going to want to keep an eye out for those. All right. Let's see what else we have by way of announcements. That's pretty much it by way of announcements. All right. So if you are someone who is interested in their horoscope, but you don't like what's on the internet or you don't know where to look, you may want to consider subscribing to my text service, where you will get your horoscope texted to you every Monday. All right. And if you're interested, you will want to text the word ZODIAC to the number 855-826-5544. The information for that will be in the description box below in case you didn't get it, but people seem to love it. It's very accurate, short, sweet, to the point. It's great. All right. And also, if you are someone who is new to astrology and you have no idea what's going on, or you've started studying astrology and you realize that it is a lot. Astrology is a lot. It's a lot of technical terms. It's a lot of jargon. It's a lot of math. Hate to break it to you, but it's a lot of math. and you're finding that you're overwhelmed and you're finding it hard to commit things to memory, don't worry, I got you covered. So I created this thing called the Astrology Basics Cheat Sheet, which essentially gives you the quick and dirty on everything you need to know to start studying astrology, mainly the 4 pillars of astrology, which are the planets, the houses, the zodiac signs, and the aspects. It's an 11-page PDF document that gives you a short summary on all of these things so that you can start studying and committing them to memory, because regardless of what anyone says or doesn't say, astrology is indeed a science. And like any science, it requires a good deal of study. So in order to start studying, in order to help you start studying, I created this cheat sheet. So if you would like to receive it, the link will be in the description box below. All you have to do is drop your email address and you will be good to go. All right. So that pretty much covers everything. So now let's get into 2024. I have to be completely honest with you. I had wanted to put out this video a lot earlier. I can't really remember off the top of my head. I did this last year, and I think I did this, the 2023 video at like the last week of December. And so this year I was like, I definitely want to do it in November so that people have enough time to get this information. And, life has been lifing this year. And a lot has been going on in my life, number one. And number two, I want to say that 2023 damn near kicked my ass. I had no idea that 2023 was going to go down the way that it went down for me, despite the fact that I look at my own transits, despite the fact that, I am an astrologer. Didn't think it would go down like that. And so if I'm being honest, I was a little apprehensive about looking at the astrology for 2024 because I was like, I don't know how much more I can take. And I'm just like, I don't necessarily know if I want to look into it, but I have to regardless, because that's my job, number one. And number two, I was, I'm not going to say pleasantly surprised at the astrology for 2024. I will say that I'm starting to see how everything works together in the sense that nothing is a vacuum and nothing is indeed linear. However, as the years go on, you start to see the themes for each year and how the energy of one year sort of plays with another. And so what I will say at the outset is that 2024 is really like a build-up year. The big showdown is actually going to be going down in 2025. So we're not there yet, all right? So we're building up to this showdown, right? And 2023 was kind of a low point, right? So it's sort of like we are elevating from 2023 all the way until 2025. And so 2024 is really a build-up year, okay? So with that being said, the approach that I love to take to astrology is not just to know the technicalities of the transits or, the specifics of, where the planets are moving. All of this information is used to sort of guide us, or me, I should say, in terms of our ascension, in terms of our evolution. I use the information that astrology provides in order to make the best of my life here on Earth while I'm here, but also for spirituality purposes, for ascension purposes. Knowing what the planets represent and what they're doing at any specific given time allows you to see sort of what stage of evolution or what stage of ascension is sort of available to you at the moment. Now, it all really depends on what's going down in your specific chart with your specific life and your specific story. However, these forecasts are to give you the general forecast, the general weather report, if you will, when it comes to the astrology. All right. So for tonight, I'm going to be breaking this down into 3 parts. The first part is going to be the astrology. The second part is going to be numerology for the year 2024. And then the third part is going to be a collective message from spirit. I won't be doing individual sign messages because those will be reserved for the individual sign videos, but I will be giving us a collective message for 2024. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. So, of course, we're going to start with the astrology. So there are a plethora of themes that are going to be playing out this year. And like I said, I could sit here and talk to you for like 12 hours about the specifics of what's going on in 2024. However, I sort of reduce it down to the most important parts. All right. And so when it comes to the overall 2024 has 4 specific themes that I think are very relevant and important to us. And those themes are expansion, evolution, relation, and conservation. All right, I'm going to repeat that. The themes for 2024, at least the ones that I think are important and are relevant for us, are expansion, evolution, relation, and conservation. All right, so let's break it down and figure out what exactly I mean and how does the astrology relate to these 4 themes. All right, so first up, we've got expansion, and this has everything to do with Jupiter. So Jupiter is kind of sort of a major player in 2024. So just by way of like mundane astrology, Jupiter changes signs every year. So it takes Jupiter 12 years to get through the zodiac. So suffice it to say, every year Jupiter will be in a different sign. So currently Jupiter is in Taurus, all right? And so Jupiter in Taurus has a lot to do with abundance, money, being that Jupiter is the planet of abundance and it's super positive, and it's in an earth sign, a very materialistic sign like Taurus, has a lot to do with money, finances, abundance, physical assets, right? It also has to do with values and things of that nature, okay? But Jupiter is going to be making some moves. Not only will Jupiter be changing signs in 2024, Jupiter will also be making 2 very important aspects that have everything to do with our expansion. So apart from Jupiter merely representing abundance, right? Jupiter is also about growth and expansion. I want you to think about Jupiter in terms of the signs associated with Jupiter. So the first sign that's associated with Jupiter is Sagittarius. Look at the glyph for Sagittarius. It's a bow and arrow. That bow is pointing to the sky, right? And currently we're still in Sagittarius season, so I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the energy signature of Sagittarius. But Jupiter has everything to do with expansion and growth. And I feel like in 2024, we're going to have ample opportunity to do so, right? Whether it's physical, because Jupiter's still going to be in Taurus for at least a good portion of the year. So physical expansion may be putting on weight. For some, it may be pregnancy, right? Your body expands when you're pregnant. But also, it could have a lot to do with your values and your mind, right? Seeing things from a different perspective and gaining very valuable insight into things that will help spur your expansion. Jupiter also is associated with Pisces, and Pisces has a lot to do with dreams, fantasies, being over the top. But Jupiter, especially as it relates to Pisces, has a lot to do with spirituality. Right? Faith in the unseen, right? So when we talk about expansion, when we talk about Jupiter, we're also talking to a certain extent about spiritual expansion, right? And so this is super important because the way that the astrology is set up, especially going into 2025, it's like there's going to be a clear line drawn in the sand. Like either you are on a higher timeline and you're vibrating higher, meaning that you're on this path of ascension and you're spiritually growing and expanding, or you're not and you're remaining in these lower timelines on these lower frequencies where you are limited and constricted, right? So you want to be able to use the energy of Jupiter in order to assist in your ascension and to allow expansion, because our souls just naturally are expansive. They seek expansion. We are fractals of God. We are God incarnate, right? And God loves to experience things. That is how expansion happens, and that expansion happens through us. So Jupiter will provide ample opportunity for expansion. Okay, so first up, I want to talk about Jupiter conjunct Uranus, and this is actually going down on April 20th. So let's take a look at the chart. and see what that looks like. So you will see at the right hand portion of the chart in this orange color, right? You'll see Taurus. And you will see Jupiter and Uranus. Jupiter is in gray, Uranus is in blue, and they're both going to be at 21 degrees of Taurus, okay? This is super important because this is revelations, sudden growth and expansion, and most importantly, breakthroughs. So you're going to want to put a circle around April 20th because this is when you may have a serious aha moment. This is when you may have a serious situation that expands you, that stretches you, that where you experience a breakthrough in life, right? Now, this breakthrough could have a lot of things to do with Taurus-like topics. So it could be money. Like this could literally be a windfall of money. Like no lie, this could be someone winning the mega millions or something like that. It could be physical expansion. It could be anything having to do with assets and materiality, right? But for many of us, especially for those of us that are on a spiritual path, right? This path of ascension, this just might be a very fortuitous time where you have a breakthrough when it comes to your values, when it comes to your self-worth, when it comes to your self-esteem. You know, this is ultimately going to be very positive because Jupiter is known as a benefic planet, so it bestows positive, beneficial energy. So this is like finally getting something, money finally coming through, right? This could be validation when it comes to something that you value or something that you deem worthy in your life is like finally turning the corner. You're receiving a breakthrough. You're experiencing a breakthrough with this, right? It's very fortuitous, positive energy. Okay. Next up, on May 25th, Jupiter is going to be changing signs and going into Gemini. So you're going to want to pay attention to where Gemini is in your natal chart. This is where Jupiter will make itself at home from May of 2024 until June of 2025. Now, with Jupiter in Gemini, this is expansion of the mind, right? Because Gemini is an air sign. Gemini has everything to do with our mental facilities, right? So when Jupiter goes into Gemini, this is lots of thoughts, an abundance of thoughts, good news, good communication, right? Again, you're going to want to check and see where Gemini is in your chart. This is where this is all going down, right? It's also an expansion of your vision. Like this is when you are going to be learning a lot, receiving lots of messages, receiving lots of insights. Like so much information is going to be coming your way, much of it being pretty good and pretty positive. All right. Gemini is also like known for multitasking, right? So with Jupiter and Gemini, it follows that you may have expansion in multiple areas of your life. So regardless of where, so for instance, Gemini may be, let's say Gemini is your fourth house, right? You've got that. But remember, Jupiter also rules two different signs. So not only are you experiencing growth and expansion in Gemini, you may also be experiencing growth and expansion in the houses that are governed by Sagittarius and Pisces, because Sagittarius and Pisces are both associated with Jupiter. So you may have different areas of your life starting to pop off, starting to proliferate, starting to become abundant, starting to be positive, right? It's a time for lots of activity. Whenever Jupiter is in Gemini, things get busy and ramp up in a major sort of way. And it's typically good things. So it could be an abundance of opportunities. It could be an abundance of learning. It could be an abundance of a lot of things. Emphasis on a lot of, okay? So that's definitely something to look forward to, especially if you have multiple areas of life that are going to be popping off and are going to become a lot more positive, right? Then next up, the last thing I want to mention about Jupiter in 2024 is Jupiter in Gemini is going to be trine to Pluto in Aquarius. This is going to be really great as well. All right. And let's take a look what this looks like at the chart. So you will see at the top right-hand portion, you will see Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius. And I want you to take a look at the lines in the middle of the circle. You're going to see a bright blue line with a triangle in the center that denotes a trine. So at the one end of the trine, we've got Pluto at 1 degree Aquarius. And I'm going to talk about Pluto in a second. And then we've got Jupiter at 1 degree Gemini, and hence they form a trine. And I think I mentioned this the other day, but whenever you have planets in a trine, it means that both planets are in signs of the same element. So this time, Pluto's in Aquarius, air sign, Jupiter's in Gemini, air sign. So essentially, this particular transit, this trine between Pluto and Jupiter, is going down on June 3rd. And essentially, it is the expansion and the evolution of your thinking. Now, I just said before that when Jupiter goes into Gemini, it's also the expansion of your vision. Now, when you add Jupiter in Gemini and you have it trine to Pluto in Aquarius, this is like futuristic thinking that's completely transformative. This is like someone coming up with an amazing technological advancement, inventing something that will literally change the way that we think or the way that we communicate. It is groundbreaking breakthroughs in terms of vision and in terms of thought, okay? It's also mental empowerment. I feel like the expansion that's going to happen for, I guess, 3/4 of the year, right? Because Jupiter is going to go into Gemini in May. I'll say a little bit more than half of the year. That Jupiter in Gemini, it's really going to allow us to think differently, to think more expansively. Now, what I've come to notice about Gemini generally is that Gemini thinks a lot of fact-based things, but not necessarily expansive thoughts, not big picture thinking. What I love about Jupiter and Gemini is that it's going to allow us to fine-tune our bigger pictures. And that trine to Pluto in June is going to do it in a way that can really transform your life. So if you are willing to expand your mind, and trust and believe, once Jupiter goes into Gemini, there are going to be so many opportunities to expand your mind, like you're not going to be able to escape it. It's only going to be up to you if you feel like you want to shut yourself off, if you feel like you want to be narrow-minded or extremely conservative in your thinking, then you're definitely not going to be taking advantage of the energy that's at your disposal. However, if you take advantage of all of these opportunities to learn new things that could literally blow your mind, you could literally change your life forever. And I'm not just saying that as some sort of euphemism or catchphrase. I literally mean that. Remember the first law, the first universal law. It's the law of mentalism. All is mind. The Jupiter situation in 2024, it's literally like mind-blowing. It's literally changing the way you think and thereby changing your life, right? And in a very positive sort of way. Jupiter just wants you to experience everything. And it's going to start in the mind. So take advantage of whatever comes up, whatever comes your way. If there's opportunities to learn something new, and keep in mind, depending on where this is going down in your chart, you may be learning through experience. You may be learning through travel, right? Especially if Gemini is your 9th house. You may be learning through relationships, especially if Gemini is your 7th house. If Gemini is your 11th house, you're learning through friends. If Gemini is your 4th house, you're learning through family members. It's like these are new and exciting experiences that can broaden your horizon and expand your vision. And expanding your vision is in alignment with your soul's true nature. Expansion is your soul's true nature. And so there are plenty of opportunities for expansion in 2024. So you'll definitely want to take advantage of them. All right. All right. So next up, so we've covered expansion. Now, the next theme is evolution, and this has everything to do with Pluto. Now, we kind of sort of got a taste of what Pluto is about to do this year. Pluto is about to change signs and change signs pretty much for good this year. And this is a big deal because Pluto spends anywhere from 20 years to close to 40 years in a sign, all right? And so we're on the brink of a new generation. Pluto had been in Capricorn for God knows how long, but a very long time. I want to say probably close to 20 years. And we are at the tail end of this Pluto in Capricorn era, okay? And so in terms of the astrology, Pluto will move into Aquarius on January 20th, okay? It'll stay there until September 1st. And then from September 1st to November 19th, it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn for a little bit. And then come November 19th, Pluto is going to be in Aquarius to stay for the next 20 years. So earlier this year in March, Pluto actually first went into Aquarius. And this, some people like to herald it as the beginning of the age of Aquarius. I personally do not know when the age of Aquarius starts or when it started. But Pluto in Aquarius is all about transformation that is futuristic. That's why you're seeing this rise of AI. That's why you're seeing all of these crazy technological advancements. It's all Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Pluto in Aquarius has everything to do with the mind, right? It's an air sign, so it's thinking futuristically in a way that changes everything, okay? So like I said, this is heralding in a new generation. When Pluto changes signs, every time Pluto is in a particular sign, it heralds a generation. So boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, whatever comes after Gen Z, because I don't even know. All of those generations are really tracking the transit of Pluto every time Pluto goes in a sign. So the boomers, that's when Pluto was in Leo and Virgo. Millennials started when Pluto was in Libra. Gen Z started when Pluto went into Scorpio, right? Scorpio. And then thereafter, when Pluto went into Sagittarius, all of that, you get it, right? That demarks the generation. So we are on the brink of a new generation. And can you just imagine the children born with Pluto in Aquarius, how advanced these children will be? Not only are they advanced, they're going to be from a completely different star system, a completely different galaxy. Like they're going to come from completely different places. They're going to be self-aware at birth. They're going to be hypersensitive. They're going to be super smart. Like we are about to see society changing for real, okay? Like I said, it's transformation that's futuristic and progressive. So there's also going to be significant changes in group think, ideology, and technology, of course. So apart from Aquarius having everything to do with like the mind and technology, Aquarius also represents the collective. It represents humanity. So with Pluto going into Aquarius and Pluto being a planet of transformation, of death and rebirth, right? Significant change. We're going to see changes in collective thinking. We're also just going to see changes in the collective period. Again, I think that sort of goes back to what I was saying about generations. The collective born under Pluto and Aquarius is going to be remarkably different than all of the other previous generations. But you're going to have changes in group think. The ideology of the collective is going to change. It already has. I mean, take for instance, one of the classic examples I love to use in demonstrating this point is tattoos. If you talk to a boomer, they will tell you that tattoos are dirty and they're for sailors, right? Like they're not something that normal, respectable citizens get for the most part, right? Particularly the boomers that were not hippies, that didn't go to Woodstock, all of that stuff, right? They have this disdain for tattoos, right? And if you went to any corporate job, any job whatsoever during, even 20 years ago, you wouldn't see too many people with tattoos blazing, right? Now, Not only does everyone have tattoos, they have them everywhere, and they're a lot more socially acceptable. We've changed the way that we think about tattoos. That's an example of a change in group think. So I'm very interested to see what our group think is going to be like when Pluto goes into Aquarius and starts making itself at home in Aquarius. Probably, I will say, our group think is going to change. The majority of our group think, I think, is going to be centered around technology, particularly artificial intelligence, what we think about it, right? I feel like when it first became introduced, people were super scared of it. They're just like, what is this? Robots are going to be taking over, blah, 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 blah. Now, I don't know anyone who doesn't use artificial intelligence. And look at how short the time span has been between when it's introduced and when it's implemented, right? Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. Uranus does things quickly. So our reliance on artificial intelligence, our reliance on perhaps something that hasn't even been invented yet, may be very rapid. And that's an example of how our group think is changing. With Pluto going into Aquarius, there's also an evolution of humanity in terms of like civil rights and humanitarianism. And we've been seeing this. The lead up to this has been definitely since 2020. I will say that. And that's definitely continuing once Pluto goes into Aquarius. Okay. Now, the other thing I love about Aquarius energy, because it's ruled by Uranus, it has this element of rebelliousness. So the traditional ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, and Saturn also rules Capricorn. When you think about Capricorn energy, right, especially because Pluto is ending its stay in Capricorn, Capricorn is very structured, it's very rigid, it's very limited, right? It's all about restriction, obstacles, challenges, things that keep you small. As opposed to a planet like Jupiter that's all about expansion, that expand you, that make things bigger, right? That allows for growth. But Saturn, as the traditional ruler of Aquarius, was about structure. But the modern ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus, is all about rebelliousness. And when Pluto goes into Aquarius and stays in Aquarius beginning in 2024, this is a definite moving away from old, outdated structures. The whole point of Pluto's stay in Capricorn right now is to completely decimate the old structures that no longer serve us. Pluto has taken a wrecking ball to a lot of the structures that many of us have relied on or have grown up with, right? Look at our government. Like, that shit is a complete shit show right now here in the US. Other places too, no doubt. But here in the US, it is slow. You can see it in real time. It is slowly dismantling. Things like higher education, right? Universities. I don't know too many people nowadays who really want to go to university anymore, right? The structure, the whole prestige of going to university. I'm not saying that it's useless, but it's losing its veneer, right? And then let's not even talk about the church. People are leaving the church in droves because they're realizing that that's not really where it's at, right? All of these structures that we've relied on are dismantling. And Pluto's final stay in Capricorn, as it reaches that critical 29th degree, is that final pass of the wrecking ball, getting rid of whatever is no longer serving us and allowing us to create new, exciting structures with that energy of Aquarius and Uranus. Okay. Now, also with Pluto going into Aquarius, it's thinking about the future rather than relying on the past. And this sort of goes to what I was just saying about Capricorn, Saturn energy, and Uranus Aquarius energy. Rather than being like, okay, especially in the way that you're thinking, because Aquarius is an air sign. Like, okay, this is how it's always been done. We need to do it this way. This has been the tradition. This has been the blueprint, right? This is how we have to do it. Pluto and Aquarius is like, fuck that. Like, I want to do, like, now it's time to, now, what do I want my future to look like? It's like, Pluto in Capricorn is like driving and looking in the rearview mirror, right? It's looking behind you, what has come before you. Pluto in Aquarius is like, now we're finally looking forward. Let's think about things that would benefit our future rather than relying on our past. So it's a complete vantage point shift. It's a complete perspective shift. It's a complete paradigm shift. And this is the essence of evolution. Evolution is all about moving forward. It's all about looking forward, right? It's all about how you go from baby to adult, right? In personal evolution. But with Pluto, it's evolution of humanity. It's evolution of generations, right? And this is the energy that you can use for your personal evolution. So you're going to want to look at where Capricorn and Aquarius are in your natal chart. Where Capricorn is, that's where things are ending. So some of us may be in crisis mode as Pluto makes its way into Aquarius, because that critical 29th degree of Capricorn, when Pluto is there, that's like that last degree, right? That's that last pass of the wrecking ball. And some will experience this while Pluto briefly goes into Capricorn between September and November of 2024. So it might be a final crisis, or it might be the final showdown and you're victorious. Pluto also rules power and control. And I feel like as it made its way through Capricorn, it was showing us where we are putting our power and authority, right? And for some, you may realize that maybe you've been giving your power away to your job, to a relationship, to your family. And those situations have slowly but surely been breaking down. And by the time Pluto goes into Aquarius, it's like, no, I am empowered because I rely on my own authority. So this is a very empowering year. And as you gain power, your personal power, and you learn how to use it, that is how you evolve. All right. So again, plenty of opportunities for not only expansion, but evolution. Okay. Now, there's also going to be an important transit as it relates to Pluto, and that is going to be Mars conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. And this is going down on Valentine's Day. Well, February 13th into Valentine's Day. All right. So I want you to take a look at the left-hand portion of the chart. Sort of towards the middle, you will see Mars at 0 degrees Aquarius, and you will see Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius. This is a very, very powerful transit. So I want you're probably not going to forget it because it's going down on Valentine's Day, right? So I'm pretty sure that is something that you'll notice, okay? But when we talk about Mars conjunct Pluto, this is it's almost like the Big Bang, okay? Like there's probably going to be some sort of event that may be some sort of conflict. It could be a major development in the many wars that are going on right now. And so it could definitely be a not so positive thing in that regard. However, being that this is going down in Aquarius, this could be a major technological advancement that is announced or invented or created. There may even be fights in the tech industry with respect to some sort of product, some sort of invention or something like that. You may also find that there may be dissent among certain groups when it comes to ideologies, right? Like let's take, for instance, the Republican Party. Something may happen, the Republican Party here in the United States, something may happen at that time where you have a major section of that group like parting ways, right? You may have even people forming their own shit at that point because there may be some sort of dissent, maybe some sort of conflict when it comes to certain ideologies. However, I want you to circle this date for personal reasons because this is a transit that allows you to take bold initiative to change things, specifically improvements in your life. So if there is something that you want to improve and you'll want to look at where Aquarius is in your natal chart, this is going to let you know what area of life you can improve at that time. And this is about taking bold action, perhaps even risky action. This is like saying yes to something. This is like embarking on something new and exciting, perhaps that you've never done before. This is literally planting the seed. And you may want to start by planting the seed in your mind because, again, this is going down in Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign, okay? But you'll want to circle February 13th, February 14th, because that Mars conjunct Pluto transit in Aquarius, super, super powerful. Now, Mars is also associated with Aries, right? And so this may also have to do with Aries topics in your life. So you're also going to want to take a look at where Aries is in your natal chart. However, I bring that up because that Mars energy is going to be very self-directed. This is going to be a time for you to be selfish. This is going to be a time to improve something about yourself. Even though this is going down in Aquarius, and Aquarius is the sign of the collective, thereby it has to do with the group. This is something perhaps within the group that you particularly like, that you want to do for yourself. Anything that makes you empowered, self-empowered, you're going to want to do at this particular transit because the astrology is just going to support it beautifully. All right. So that is evolution. So now let's move on to the next concept for 2024, and that is relation. Okay. And this has everything to do with the nodes, the north and the south node. And when I speak about the nodes in 2024, what I'm really talking about are the eclipses, because the eclipses happen at the nodes. So earlier this year, we had the north and the south node change signs. So every 18 months, the north node and the south node change signs. And 4 times every year, you have eclipses happen at those nodal points. So we started off 2023 with the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio. And then in July, the nodes moved to Aries and Libra. So the north node is currently in Aries. The south node is currently in Libra. Those nodes will remain in Aries and Libra throughout 2024. They're not changing this year. And so the themes related to Aries and Libra are going to play out, particularly at the eclipses. And the axis of Aries and Libra is all about relationships, whether it's your relationship with yourself, aka Aries, or your relationship with others, aka Libra. So some of the themes associated with Aries and Libra are me versus we, war versus peace, selfish versus people pleasing, and one-sided versus equal. Okay. So depending on where Aries and Libra are in your chart is whatever those themes will be, right? Especially if you have Aries in the first house, Libra in the 7th, those are literally you versus your relationships. If you've got Aries in the 4th and Libra in the 10th, that's your family versus your career. If you've got Aries in the 5th versus Libra in the 11th, that is you and your children versus your friends, right? So it all depends on where this is going down in your chart. And so those themes are going to be playing out this year. Now, with the North Node being in Aries, it has a very selfish flavor to it. Aries is all about the self. And so with the North Node in Aries, we are being urged to address what we need and what we want. It's all about us. Aries is me, 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 me. And the North Node in Aries is getting you to figure out what you want, what you need, or who you are, apart from whoever you relate to. And so you're being given opportunities and situations are arising that have a lot to do with you, okay? And figuring out who you are, what you need, what you want, all of that stuff. Now, with the South Node going through Libra, Libra is all about relationships. Libra is all about the other, okay? And with the South Node going through that, this is cleaning house when it comes to our relationships. Whatever relationships aren't serving you, whatever relationships are perpetuating a karmic cycle that you finally can get out of, they need to go too. And so throughout 2024, you're still going to be letting go of certain relationships, or at least certain aspects of relationships, as that South Node continues to move through Libra. So when it comes to the eclipses, the first eclipse we have is going to be on March 25th, and this is going to be a lunar eclipse in Libra. So this is a full moon lunar eclipse associated with the South Node. So this is going to be complete illumination when it comes to your relationships, particularly what's not working in your relationships and who you're not supposed to be with, or what patterns you need to break away from. When I tell you that full moon lunar eclipses are illuminating, that is an understatement. Like, it is like a floodlight being shining in your face. Bright as day, neon signs to let you know what's not working anymore, or who you're not relating to, or maybe where you're people pleasing, or maybe what karmic cycle you're stuck in. All right, so that's going down on March 25th. Then on April 8th, we have a solar eclipse in Aries. So this is going to be new opportunities to address your needs, to address your wants, and to address who you are. For some, it may also have to do with healing yourself, because Chiron is also in Aries. And I'm not going to go into all that. I have a separate video all about Chiron and Aries. But with Chiron in Aries and the eclipse going down in Aries, a solar eclipse, so that's a new moon solar eclipse going down in Aries, this may provide opportunities for healing yourself, okay? Very, very important. It's a time when you're going to want to start new things, initiate things, say yes to things, be bold, be risky, be initiating, and be action-oriented. Now, things get a little interesting in the fall, because like I just said, the eclipses happen at the nodes. So we got the North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra. So this is where the eclipses are going to go down, except in September. In September, we are going to have a lunar eclipse in Pisces. And I want you to pay attention to this. This is actually going down on September 17th. This is going to give you a sneak peek of what 2025 to 2026 is going to be like. Because after the nodes are in Aries and Libra, they're going to move to Pisces and Virgo. So if you've watched any of my videos, whenever I talk about the eclipses and the nodes, the 18 months that the nodes are in two signs, it's like a story. It's like a chapter in your life based on a particular topic. So right now in 2024, for the most part, we're going through the topic of relationships. What they are, what they're not, who we are in them, who we are in our lives. This is the story that's playing out. And then after that, it's going to be a new story. And that story is going to have everything to do with Pisces and Virgo. And so in September, specifically on September 17th, we're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. This is going to give you a sneak peek at what the next chapter is going to be about. So you're going to want to pay attention because it's a full moon lunar eclipse. Again, it's going to be a floodlight shining brightly on you. It's going to show you neon signs what this next chapter is going to be like, okay? It's going to be a time perhaps of endings, but definitely a time of enlightenment, so keep that in mind. And then the last eclipse is going down on October 2nd, and that is going to be a solar eclipse in Libra. So we've had quite a bit of getting rid of relationships with this South Node in Libra, right? So finally, at the solar eclipse in Libra, this is going to be a time where maybe we're starting new relationships. However, new relationships that are not karmic, that are not fucked up, perhaps, right? It's going to be a time for newness in respect to relationships or a new phase in an existing relationship, all right? It's going to be karmic lessons, It's going to be all about relationships, thereby the other, but it's going to be a time of initiation and starting anew. All right. So relations, I hate saying relations because it sounds like how old people talk about sex, right? But relation, how we relate to people, is going to be a major, major theme in 2024. Now, finally, I get to the last concept of 2024, and this is what I like to call conservation. This is everything to do with Mars, because Mars is going to be going retrograde in 2024. So this is not something that you have to worry about right now, because Mars is actually going retrograde at the end of 2024 in December and into 2025. So this is something that I'll discuss very much at next year's yearly astro forecast, but it bears mentioning because it's pretty significant. So Mars goes retrograde about every 2 years, okay? And so we didn't have a Mars retrograde in 2023. So it follows that we will have one in 2024 into 2025. And when Mars goes retrograde, it's going to go retrograde in Leo and also retrograde back into Cancer. So what exactly does that mean for us? Leo and Cancer have a lot to do with childhood. And so Mars going retrograde, it's going to have us thinking a lot about our childhood, perhaps our children, if you have any, but very much your childhood, whether it's your inner child or your literal childhood, like how you were nurtured and how you were raised. It may be quite, I want to say jarring. I also want to say it may be a very sensitive time, because anytime we talk about childhood, repressed emotions come up, and it could be sensitive and sort of emotionally messy, right? But issues related to mothering, motherhood, nurturing, right? I think that those things are going to come up for review. Also, this is going to be a time when your inner child is going to be really, really loud. Okay. Think of it this way. Children, especially little ones, they love to run around. They love to be rambunctious, right? Think of that as Mars direct. Mars direct is doing the things, pushing forward, doing all that stuff, right? When Mars goes retrograde, it's like you make that child sit down. And when that child sits down, they get kind of antsy. They want to get back up. They're looking all over the place. They want to play, but you're making them sit down and you're making them focus on one thing. And so you're going to want to take a look at where Leo and Cancer are in your chart. This is where this Mars retrograde is going down. And again, this is going down in December. So we've got some time. We've got like a year. But it's going to have a lot to do with your childhood, your inner child. This is going to be the time to listen to your inner child, to speak to your inner child, to understand your inner child. For some, this is going to be a time where you really take a hard look at how you were raised, how you were nurtured, if you were nurtured, and maybe even situations regarding your early childhood, your early development, right? Issues related to mothers or mother figures, all of that fun stuff that we all go to therapy for, right? So that is going to be a lot of what Mars retrograde has to offer. However, I call this concept conservation because the best use of the energy when Mars is retrograde is conserving your energy. Going forward, being bold and initiating, that takes a lot of physical energy. So when Mars is retrograde, we're literally quite lethargic, like physically. Our energy is not as high, right? Like it allows you to address how you spend your energy, right? Leo, apart from having to do with your inner child, it has to do with your creativity. It also has to do with your romantic life. Perhaps you've been putting a lot of effort and energy, right? Maybe you've been serial dating. You've been doing a lot of stuff. When Mars is retrograde, this is the time when you really sit down and you figure out, well, I'm really tired. Like, what have I been doing? Like when you're low on cash and you're kind of just like, or you're low on funds and you're like, what have I been spending my money on? When Mars is retrograde, you're like, what have I been spending my energy on? What have I been putting my energy into? And has it actually did it actually bear fruit for me? Like it's a very retrospective time, right? Just like any other retrograde period. But it allows you to really assess where you've been spending your energy. It allows you to manage your energy levels, right? It also allows you to cool down When it takes a lot of energy for an engine to function, right? But sometimes when it overfunctions, it overheats. And sometimes you need to cool it down so that it can function properly. So, wherever Mars is going retrograde in your chart, this may be the place where you need to cool things down a bit. You need to stop doing the most and chill out for a second, okay? It also allows us to assess the motivation behind our actions. So we're not just blindly bulldozing forward and being unnecessarily reckless, right? This allows us to understand, okay, what is it that I want to put my energy behind? What's the one thing that I want to focus on? Mars is all about focus on one thing. It allows us to make peace with and address our masculine side and our masculine qualities. We all have masculine and feminine energy within us. And when Mars is retrograde, we really get to take a look at our masculine side and see how masculine it is, see how productive it is. We really get to assess all of that. We get to review our passions and our goals. And finally, we get to rewire our ego brain. Okay, so when Mars is retrograde, we got to sit down, right? We're not doing the most. We don't have the energy to do the most, but we get to really recalibrate our minds, our bodies, conserve our energy, and then go into 2025 well rested, because 2025 is the showdown year. Remember I said 2024 is the buildup. So it's like the universe is giving you the end of 2024 to sort of wind things down, get your bearings together, cool shit down, and conserve your energy, because come 2025, you're definitely going to need it. All right. The astrology never disappoints, absolutely never. Okay. So that's that. That's the astrology in a nutshell for 2024. So now let's talk a little numerology and see what 2024 has in store. All right, so to understand where we're going, we kind of have to understand where we've been. So 2023 was a universal 7 year, and that's a very spiritual number. It's the number of completion. It's the number of God. There was a very spiritual emphasis and undertone to everything going on in 2023. Now, moving into 2024, the energy is going to be extremely different because we're moving into a universal year 8. Universal year 8 has everything to do with abundance. Emphasis on abundance, right? Universal year 8 has everything to do with money and material assets. So this is going to be a year that's focused on a lot of financial things. It's almost like everything is going to have a financial undertone to it. Manifestation is going to take on the quality of manifesting abundance, right? Now, if you are watching this video, I know that you are an evolved being. And it's not just about manifesting money. Money is sort of the lower level thing of it. Abundance comes in all forms. It's not just money. You can have an abundance of spirit, an abundance of health, an abundance of love. So that 8 year is a year of abundance. Now, the number 8 is feminine in nature. So even though we're talking about money, even though we're talking about abundance, how you get it is through attraction. It's not through action. It's not through some extroverted thing. You embody abundance and it attracts it to you. That is how the energy of 2024 is going to work. And work, I use that word very intentionally because the number 8 is governed by the planet Saturn, and it also represents Capricorn in the 10th house. That abundance is not going to come without some work. You cannot expect results from the work that you didn't do. So, especially if you've been doing your work, particularly your inner work in 2023, because remember I said 2023 was a spiritual year. 2024 is a year of abundance, but 8 is a feminine number. So you're attracting it to you. If you've done that inner work, if you've worked on yourself, if you've done the things that you need to do spiritually in 2023, that abundance is going to start to come to you in 2024. You're going to start to see it in real time, in tangible form. Okay. But again, do not expect results from the work that you didn't do. It's also a number of empowerment. So issues related to power, control, and authority are also going to be prevalent this year. Again, where does your authority lie and to whom are you giving your authority? What allows you to feel personally empowered, or do you feel disempowered? Do you have control over your life, or does your life kind of have control over you? These are some of the questions that this universal year 8 is going to ask of you. Okay. Now, because there's this emphasis on abundance and manifestation, some of the things that you're going to want to do this year include being intentional. This is not the year to be like, oh, whatever. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just go with the flow. No, this is like, this is what I want. This is what I'm doing. Be clear with your intentions. Be clear with your goals. This is not the time to be wishy-washy. This is not the time to be unsure. This is not the time to be straddling the fence. Pick a side, stick to it, and do the work, okay? This is a number that, because also this may be a year where a lot of opportunities come your way, or a lot of opportunities present themselves. And if you're not clear about your intentions, if you're not clear about your goals, you may get half-assed results because you're not focused on one particular thing. Or when an opportunity presents itself, you're not sure if you want to take advantage of it because you're not clear on where you're going. This is the year to have a clear goal, a clear destination, and clear intentions. I already mentioned manifestation. This is a year of adding value, whether it's adding value to your bottom line, so definitely in financial terms, or perhaps adding value to yourself, or perhaps to others. Value, worth, all of those things are going to be part of that undercurrent of the energy of this universal year 8. Be wary and be mindful of power struggles. Now, we're going to see this play out on the big stage of life, like as if it hasn't started playing out already. But in your personal life, again, control, authority, and empowerment. Where are those things in your life? To whom do you give them? And perhaps maybe this is a year of power struggles to show you exactly who's in charge of your life. Are you the boss of you, or are there other people that are the boss of you? I feel like this universal year 8 is definitely going to show that to us. So to sum it up, this is a year of abundance. It's a year of reaping what you've sown. It's about a year of personal empowerment, control, authority, and value. And remember, 8 is a feminine number, so it's all about attraction. So you're going to want to flex your manifestation muscles. You're going to want to get right within so you can start attracting everything that you truly want. Now, keep in mind that this is an 8 universal year. That means that this is the energy. This is the energy that is available to all of us. Now, we all have a personal year, and that varies it varies from person to person. So to find what personal year you will be having next year, you would add your birth month, your birth date, and the current year. So let's say you're born January 15th. You would add 1 plus 1 plus 5 plus 2024. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4. Then reduce that to a single digit, and that is going to be your personal year. Okay. And then while we all have the energy of the universal 8 year at our disposal, you're also going to have additional energy depending on what your personal year is. And if you want to know what your personal year is, if you want to know what all of your important numbers are, you may want to consider getting my numerology report. And I'll put the link to that in the description box. Well, I'll also tag it to this video as well if you're interested. All right. So that is the numerology. So now let's get into some messages from Spirit. All right, so I'm going to be pulling some cards for a collective message from Spirit. As I mentioned before, the messages by signs, I will be doing that in each individual rising sign video, which will be coming out beginning next week. All right, so without further ado, let's see what Spirit has to say to us for 2024. I'm going to start off with, oh, goodness. Wow. Everything just fell on the floor. that that was very interesting. All right. Hold on one second. All right. So I take that to mean that things may feel like they are falling apart. Okay. Things may be falling apart to fall back together, to fall back together better. So, what initially may feel like a crisis, what may initially feel like the world is ending, what may initially feel like things are going to shit, is really a breakdown of what's not working to allow room for what is. Okay. So let's get one card, hopefully, and see exactly what that means. It's really going to be, and this is just coming to me right now, it's really going to be imperative that you avoid conflict as much as possible. It's really important that you don't engage in a lot of back and forth, in a lot of he said, she said, in a lot of lower vibrational things. I believe I said this earlier. There's going to be a clear line drawn. Higher vibrational, higher frequency ascension, lower vibrational, lower frequency descension. You know how they say misery loves company? People who are on that lower energy, lower frequency vibration, they're going to be looking to pull people with them because they don't want to be alone. Misery loves company. They want everyone on the miserable boat, right? So it's really important that you don't engage in any of that. Now, that may be hard. That may be very difficult because these could be people who are your family members, your friends, your spouse, whoever, right? But they're telling me like there's going to be this need for a little bit of isolation. And if you find yourself isolated, it's not a bad thing. That isolation, that temporary abandonment, that rejection even is actually your protection. Engaging in that lower frequency, it's not gonna, it can really pull you down much farther than you think. So don't get baited by people who want to fight you, who are committed to misunderstanding you, who don't believe in the same things that, I'm not saying that they don't believe in the same things that you do, but they, how do I put this? Like, just don't engage with people who are on some fuck shit. Let's just say that. Let's just keep it 100 and say that. Okay. Okay. Let's pick a card and see what we have. Oh, what did I just say? And we got this card. It says orphaned. And I want you to take a look at this number 5. 5 is the number of change. If you find yourself alone, abandoned, it is not because you're not worthy. It's not because you're not good enough. It's not because no one likes you or there's something wrong with you. You are being isolated for your protection. And this is how many of us are going to engage in expansion and evolution. It's going to be by ourselves. It's not going to be with everybody, right? You can't heal other people. You can't force people to expand. You can't force people to evolve, okay? And the ascension journey, it can be a lonely one because it's got to be taken alone. It's great when you find people who are vibing on the same wavelength, who are on the same frequency, and you guys can get together as a collective, right? That definitely that Pluto in Aquarius energy. But it's an inside job and it's a job that is alone. But understand, do not, under any circumstances, take this to mean that you're not good enough, that you are unworthy, that something is wrong with you if you are isolated, if you are alone. Remember, the North Node is going through Aries. Aries has everything to do with the self. This abandonment, this aloneness is getting you to focus on you. It's getting you to focus on who you really are, what you really want, what you really need, without the noise and without the input of everybody else. You will not be like this forever. Trust and believe you won't. If you use this time constructively, meaning you figure out who you are, what you need, what you want, you heal yourself, you get clear on your objectives, and you allow spirit to expand you. You allow the universe to help you evolve. This will be a very short period amount of time. But it's when you think you can take everybody with you. It's when you think, oh, everyone's doing this and I'm not. There's something wrong with me, or I'm missing out on something. It's when you entertain that you delay the inevitable. This is inevitable. It's inevitable, but you don't want to delay it and you want to make the best use of it. Okay? So let me pick 3 tarot cards to expand on this message. First card out we have is the Queen of Cups. This is about mastering your emotions, addressing your emotions. Didn't I just say in this time period, it's healing time, right? Queen of Cups, she is the healer. She is the healer. For some of you, I'm hearing stepping into your role as a healer is going to be a thing this year. It's necessary, number one, both for you and for the collective. But this is mastering your emotions. This is healing, understanding your emotions. Sometimes when we're around all these other people all the time, we don't have the time or the space or the capacity to address our emotions. We just shove it under the rug. Now it's time to really, you see how she's focused on that cup? That's your cup. That's the cup of emotional fulfillment. So again, during this time, what makes you emotionally fulfilled? What do you want in your cup? Do you want water? Do you want oat milk? Do you want Hennessy? Do you want champagne? Do you want kombucha? What do you want in your cup? Again, use this time to figure that out. Figure out what emotionally fulfills you and heal yourself. Start the healing process. Continue the healing process. Continue on your ascension journey. Okay. That's too many cards. Okay. Let's see what we have next. Ooh, the Hierophant. Authority. Who is your authority? Who are you listening to? Who are you allowing to lead you? Who is this? Is this you? Is this the church? Is this your political group? Who is it? You're going to figure that out this year. What do you put your faith in? What do you have faith in? Again, who do you allow to lead you? Who do you give your power to? Who are you following? Even as simple as on YouTube, who are you subscribed to? What are they teaching you? Who are you following on Instagram? What are they showing you? Again, during this time, this is what you're going to figure out. Who is your God? That's a loaded question. Take the time to figure it out. And it may change. This may have been one thing before and now it's something different, and that's fine. But make sure that the answer to all of these questions you are really examining on a personal level. You're not allowing other people to influence how you feel or think about these things. Like I said before, this is an inside job. You are being isolated for a reason. And no, it's not because you're ugly. No, it's not because you're not worthy. It's because you've got work to do. Remember I said 2024 is the build-up year. 2025 is the showdown. When the showdown happens, you want to be ready. Because guess what? All those people on the misery boat, on that low vibrational cruise, yeah, they're going to have a really hard time at that point. You don't want to be one of those people. Let's get a final card. See what we have here. Justice. Libra energy with that South Node. This is like justice, but most importantly, justice when it comes to yourself. Are you fair to yourself? Are the people in your life fair and equitable to you and with you? The scales are about to be balanced, honey. Again, with this, you think you're like this because you did something wrong. Meanwhile, the universe is like, I'm just balancing things out in your life. That person that you were attached to, they are no good for you. I got to balance the scales. Yeah, you feel like this. You may literally be alone, but that rejection, that abandonment, it's for your protection. It's for your protection. And it's time for divine justice to prevail. I want you to take a look at both of these cards. You see the presence of the color red here? Root chakra. Red is all about stability. With us going into this 8 universal year, money is going to be a real thing. Perhaps you need to be like this so you stop spending money on other people, or you figure out where does my foundation need work? Okay. Who am I giving my power to? My stability in life. Who is responsible for that? So have you made your job your God? Have you made your corporate job this? It's time to figure that out. And it's time for the scales to be balanced. Notice how not only do they have the scales, but they have the sword. The sword cuts out what's no longer necessary. AKA, in this instance, the sword is the South Node in Libra, cutting out those relationships. Hence why you may be like this. You're like, well, fuck, I wanted the universe to balance things out. Now I'm alone. Yeah, now you're not with the people that are weighing you down, or you're not with the people who are dragging you on that low vibrational cruise. Imagine a boat filled with demons. I'm not saying that people that are on that low vibration are demons, but they're going on a cruise that they're not going to be able to get off of. You are. So please don't think of this as something bad or something's wrong with you or things aren't working. They are working. But shit has to be done alone sometimes. All right? All right, my loves. Hopefully that message found whoever it needed to find. That has been this special edition of the yearly Astro Forecast. I sincerely hope you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going forward into this new year. Again, turn on your notifications because I'll be dropping the individual zodiac sign 2024 horoscopes beginning next week. All right, so you definitely don't want to miss it. Book your 2024 readings ASAP. I'm only offering them until mid-January, so get in while the getting is good. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely hope that you have an amazing rest of the year and into 2024. And I will see you in my next video. All right, my loves. Take care.